Hey guys, welcome to here of course. Today we're covering the Poltava. And just a quick note before we start this. Obviously guys, if you guys got any new boats for the treasure hunt event, you know, Eagle or Octavoy, I've left the cards here, just on the top right of the screen. And you can take a look at those masterclasses which are still relevant today. So go check them out and, you know, for all these free ships, it's worth taking a look. You've also got the Key, Octavoy, the Eagle, and some other rare ships that I think on the top of my tongue. Anyway, on to the Poltava. Now, aiming systems would recommend. Secondaries are poopy. Main battering mod you could do, but I really like the reload. AA guns, no. Let's just go for aiming systems. Highly recommended. Propulsion is what I'd go for. You could go damage control or steering. Again, they're all options, but I think propulsion mod is the most effective. You want to get places quickly. And then obviously target position if you can have the money. Armour viewer here. As most Russian battleships do, they actually does have an icebreaker. Tier 6 battleship, 25mm nose, but again, you see the icebreaker. Not too big an icebreaker, but it's big enough to be effective. Something to note about the Poltava, it's very weird. It also has an icebreaker on its stern as well. It has a special bit of armour that no other ship that I know has. It's the auxiliary room armour here. Basically a 25mm plating. If you take that off though, you may have noticed something here. So let's take off this because we've seen this. Some spaced armor in between its to be protection and citadel there, but the citadel does rise above the water, so you're still going to get citadel if you get broadside. It's a Russian battleship after all. 30mm torpedo protection, useful for bouncing shells. Superstructure, besides the conning tower, it's the regular armor. And with this auxiliary room armor here, let's just say take this off, it's actually a 40mm deck, which is incredibly good actually, because tier 6, there's not many boats that have a 40mm deck, or at least 40 or 50, that sort of region. Poltava is actually better armored for HE, against HE, than the Sinop is at its same tier. If you look at the Sinop here, we take off everything but the deck armor, it's actually 25. Yeah, sure, it does have other bits that are 50 to 100 there, but 25 is what it's mostly coated in, yeah. So yeah, in fact the Poltava is a bit stronger against HE than the Sinop is. Obviously the Sinop has 6-inch guns, but it's that. If you look at the Citadel, we take off this deck. There's a lot of stuff to go here. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So that's auxiliary deck room, just 25. Take that off real quick. Yeah, as I said, 40mm deck. Now if we take some stuff off here real quick, there we go. You see Citadel is above the waterline. Pretty easy to Citadel when you get broadside, but if you angle, you've actually got a sizable amount of armor, and if you angle correctly in this boat, you can bounce 16-inch guns, you can bounce probably 18-inch guns if the situation you have a rose for, because you're fighting Georgias, I guess. And yeah, you've got icebreaker to prevent most citadels, so you're relatively well armored. Actually, one of the best armored tier 6 battleships in the game, I assume, if you angle correctly. And something special with the Poltava is the only Russian battleship that prefers to be at longer ranges. As you can see, unlike its counterparts, Poltava can wage war effectively at greater ranges, also enjoys a better firing rate, as you can see. So it's more of a long range boat. This is the only Russian I use Galler on. Just be aware of that. So flaming arrow, HE damage, that is really useful to stuff the effect. You've got flammable cannoneer for additional range and additional shell grouping. Shell grouping is the issue of the Poltava, not dispersion. Drill bits for the additional AP damage, we definitely need that. Marksmanship, this is the kind of a questionable one. Marksmanship is good, I like it, but if you're not comfortable with this, you get set on fire a lot. Volunteer, if you've got Lev Gallo leveled up enough, is definitely what I recommend. If you don't have Lev Gallo leveled up like I do, not as much, I would go for collective labor. Nothing but plus sides, so any of these three are pretty good, but I'd recommend marksmanship because you're really building around the guns for this thing. And then reaching out for additional range, quite important. Welter build, always useful. And then we went for Cunningham. Now, we went for Cunningham exclusively, not Azurine Scharnhorst, because Scharnhorst buffs dispersion, but the Poltava's dispersion is very good. So shell grouping is the biggest issue of Poltava, so if you buff the shell grouping is actually more important than dispersion for this boat in particular. And we went for Jujard to buff the penetration of the shells. These are Russian guns, so they're very good penetration, but they're only 14-inch guns. Something to note as well, the HE fire chance is 41%, and the HE alpha is not bad, again, buff of Galler. 41% is the same fire chance as King George V, so if something's not angled to you, if something is angled to you, switching to HE is a very good call. You're very likely to set a fire, and you definitely need to switch ammo. But when you catch something broadside with Poltava AP, it has a nasty result. We're actually going to show you a quick clip here. This is the effect of Poltava AP on again Eisenhower with the Jujard buff that we currently have. You can get some really nasty salvos when it comes to AP. Partially angled at Alabama, we're firing our shots here, pretty far away as well. Again, the Poltava does really well at range, and here we go, Citadel, as you can see. Bit of an easier shot maybe, North Carolina, but again at this range, you're pretty comfortable to mess up a lot of battleships. I actually got a Citadel on the key as well, and I've done some nasty stuff to the ships, but as you can see, Poltava pen is pretty crazy. Now onto the match here. This is going to be a crazy match, that's what I'm going to say. So you want to play this thing at range, okay? You want to be catching people on the sides, so you really are more of a flanking type battleship. You've got relatively good speeds and you're very sleek, and later in this game you'll see this thing has amazing rear firing angles. If I was to compare this to any other ship, I would compare it to a Russian Amagi, but with 14-inch guns. You've got to remember you have 14-inch guns, so you need to catch something broadside. When you catch things broadside with that AP though, my god, it's beautiful. Close range dispersion does kind of troll you a little bit, so as much as I like to brawl, I do like to get close to these boats. It is a good idea to stay relatively far back, but as the game progresses, you should always push in. Regardless of the battleship you're in, you always should push in late game. Sniping at initial early stages is perfectly fine, and some boats I'd highly recommend it, but in late game, you do need to push in. This thing is incredibly well. If you angle correctly, you're bouncing a lot of stuff. As you can see, there's a sin up here. Fortunately for him, okay, we were lucky there. We weren't angled enough, that could be very bad, but we do have the angle for here. As you can see, we had to take a little bit, but we bounced that. And then in return, we get a 25k salvo on that broadside North Carolina. Cruisers, you're very likely to get overpens on cruisers. The penetration is very good in these shells, and it does lead to lots of overpens. But if you catch an angled cruiser, the results are very good. Very good indeed. You always find yourself, the accuracy is so good sometimes that you barely need to use your accuracy plane. I forget I have it a lot of the time. We took a bit of a nasty salvo there. We weren't angled fully there, and we did take a little bit on the butts, which again 25mm, because this is a tier 6 battleship. But you need to be aware of that. If you're carefully angling your middle, you want to hit the angled middle part of your ship, that's where you'll bounce all the shells. As you can see, everything's relatively well angled, so we're going to wait for a full salvo here, and we're going to take a pot shot at that the York, sorry, not New York, the York, the German cruiser here. You can see, can we get some good, or is it just over pens? Oh, there we go. Partially angled, there we go, as you can see. New York, Sinop is angled, so we're going to wait here. We don't want to get too far away here. We're at a pretty respectable range. We've got a Yoba to shoot at. He's probably our best target because everything else is well angled. As you said, 14-inch guns. We can't overmatch anybody. And Miyoko, I believe, and even tier 6 cruisers have 25mm plating. There we go. Another dev strike there. Back to back. That's what the Poltava can do at range. Insanely good armor. North Carolina is giving a relatively flat broadside again. We're going to try and keep as much angle as you can see. You can see that our angling is actually really good. We can actually shoot from very comfortably all 3 guns. We're going to take a pot shot at this back facing North Carolina. By the way, you can actually angle a little bit more than what I'm showing you right now. It's insane what you can do with all your rear firing angles. Are very, very good. We're actually angling up a little bit more as well, if you guys can't see. Yeah, the rear firing angles are incredibly good. Look how well angled we are. And I think we bounced the Sinop shell there. Or maybe just missed it, but either one. Sinop's giving a relative broadside, so we're going to see what we can do to punish him. He is angling a little bit actually. Let's just go for the angled shores here. Now, as you saw, some dev strikes with angled targets and some other things with cruisers. Poltava can struggle if you're not 100% angled. There we go. 3 overpins. Overpins are quite common on cruisers. I just want to tell you that off the bat. Those 2 dev strikes are great, but it's not always the case. It's very likely to be overpins or dev strikes. It's kind of all or nothing, really. So yeah, but as you can see, we can angle heavily and still fire all our guns. We really want to catch the broadsides on the flanks, so having other battleships near you is more counterproductive than anything else. Something to note as well with our build that we have recommended, we've only got 3 damage controls and 2 heals, so being HE spammed is kind of out of the question. You really don't want to be shot too much. You don't want to be burned to death, because it's pretty easy to get to burn a Poltava to death. That being said, we actually got really good detection, 13.6 or something, 13. I can't read the screen there, but that's without even building the detection, and just with the perma camo you get for a premium ship. You can get some really good detection for a battleship, and you can go dark relatively quickly. So again, guys, I have mentioned this. I didn't mention this. The commander build, but if you want to build for concealment, or even to use that Kirishima perk for when you go dark after firing, not a bad idea as well. Being a very stealthy battleship is a good thing for Poltava. If I want to disengage, I can simply stop shooting, and I will not be spotted right now, unless there's a DD, of course. But again, it's only if. And you see, I probably could have used the spotter plane here, but I didn't feel that I needed it. Because you can see the accuracy is right there. There we go. You know, almost a dev strike on the shores. It would have been my 3rd dev strike of this game. We're already racking up 129,000. We're just shooting the broadsides, and we're heavily angling. Look at that firing angle from the rear. Pretty darn insane. Pretty darn insane. You want to be using that. As you can see, like, full 16-inch Synop salvo, pretty much all bounced. You know, so we're going to try and rake. I was thinking maybe rake the superstructure of the Synop, because he does have a lot of superstructure, but he's actually turning here. So we're going to hold our shot as long as possible. Hopefully he'll give us a full broadside. It looks like he might. Got the spotter plane up this time. He's still kind of angled. We're getting him a little bit up than we normally would. And what can we get? Oh, there we go. Yeah. As I said, penetration of these shells are incredible, especially when you buff them with Jujard. If you go back in the video, you can see what level my Jujard is, and you can see at least at the level I've got him on, we're getting pretty comfortable pens, even without using Jujard. That still has very good pen, but it's always nice to have a little bit more. Just on the side note, if you guys don't know 100% what Jujard is, hey, does it cause more overpens? No. What it does is it means any shatters you get are unlikely to be shatters, like that one shatter we got there, and has a chance to be a penetration. Doesn't mean that the overpens will be more overpens, it only means that the overpens will still be overpens, it's just instead of the shatters, you'll get more penetrations. But your penetration doesn't affect your shell fusing timer, which is the main factor that affects overpens. So yeah, again, we're going to rake the superstructure, the upper deck of that North Carolina, and as you can see, he's been angled, so we're just going to switch to HE. He's the only target we can shoot at the minute, and we're trying to go a little closer, so we're just going to reverse towards him at our bonkers rear firing angles. As you can see, look at that rear firing angle right there. Look how well angled we are, and look at we've all 3 guns are trained on target. So yeah, pretty insane. So we're just going to shoot HE salvo here, and let's see if we even can. No point. Well, the fact was there. Also, as well, you need to be aware of what you're giving broadside to. As I said, this is a Russian ship, very fragile if you don't angle. If you do angle, you can bind some crazy stuff. So this is a very hard to play ship to get extremely well, but overall, it's a very strong ship. Despite the 14-inch guns, it's incredibly well armored. It's got incredible shell ballistics, very fast shell ballistics, and incredible pen considering their 14-inch guns, and even past 14-inch guns. Very reliable guns. Alright, so we got a Mutsu here. Probably Mutsu is probably best choice here, so we're going to get a little bit of lead. Not too much. We're shooting pretty far away, but as you can see, the shells are very quick, and look at that dispersion. Yeah. And folks, that's why you use Andrew Cunningham for the Poltava and not Azurline Scharnhorst. It's all about the grouping, which is different from dispersion. Now, yeah, we could shoot the Algerie or the Mutsu, and again, the Poltava does benefit more from shooting the battleships rather than things you're likely to overpen because of the massive amount of penetration it has. It does have 14-inch guns, that's true, but these are Russian 14-inch guns, and they pack one hell of a punch in terms of penetration. So there we go. We finished off the Mutsu, perfectly fine. Again, situationally, you'd normally want to pick the artillery, but for the Poltava, battleships are probably your preferential treatment unless the cruiser's more of a threat. Whatever's most, usually whatever's most of your biggest threat, you usually want to go for. Now, this salvo here, this will probably either really mess up the California or even straight out kill them. Again, dispersion just says hello. You get 4 pens, 1 shatter, unfortunately, 1 overpen. Next salvo could finish him off for up to 186 for around 4 kills. By the way, the damage record for this is only in the low 200s. So I think if we get another good salvo in the California, we could possibly match or even beat the damage record for the Poltava. So can we get another juicy shot in? The shots are out. The shell look good. The dispersion looks good. Oh, someone else takes the kill, unfortunately. So there we go. That's the Poltava for you folks. 186k, 2 double dev strikes here, 3200 base XP with Confederate and high caliber. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, guys, comment below. Tell me your thoughts on Poltava. Did you get her in the crate? Did you buy her before? Are you enjoying her right now? And hopefully if this video has helped you or not. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the flip side. Bye for now.